I'll be honest with you, I've never met another man in my entire life that that loved his kids and devoted his whole life to his kids like he did. He was an unbelievable father. Tim had been sick, and they all kind of thought that, it was just kind of a muscle strain or something, because he was still, at this time, he was playing 2, 3, 4 hours a day of basketball with Lindsay and Zach. He was working out with Zach as well. He said they had found a huge mass on his spleen, so they decided to do chemo. We thought that whole time that everything was going to be okay, because they told us he's going to be okay. They did some tests, and they said the cancer had spread. It was in his liver, and that he'd be lucky if he had 2 months to live. They called us and told us to come into the hospital, and they put him on high dosages of steroids, and he was on a morphine pump, and he was taking other types of pain medication as well. Zach on Sunday he says, Mommy, he says, I miss my daddy. He said, can I go up to the hospital with you today? He wanted to climb up there in the bed with him, and Tim said to him, he said, oh, buddy, he said, I miss you. He said, Daddy loves you. He said, but he says, I don't want you to get too close to Daddy. He says, because Daddy's immune system is bad. He said, and we don't want to get Daddy any more sick. And Tim called me early on Monday morning on March the 10th. And I was probably around 6 o'clock in the morning, and he said, come get me. And I said, okay. I said, well, what's going on? He says, I'm not staying here anymore. He said, come get me. And I said, okay. And at this point, Tim's pacing the floors. He's very agitated. He's in excruciating pain. I said, well, what is going on here? And the nurse said, well, he said last night he didn't want to take any more of his medicine, none of his medicine. He went complete cold turkey off of the steroids, heavy doses of steroids, morphine pump, and all the other pain medications. So he'd gone the whole night in agony and pain of not having anything. So he was just beside himself that morning. And the nurse noticed that something wasn't right with him. It wasn't the same Tim she had seen the whole time. Zach was upstairs in bed, and we walked in the door, and I said, honey, I'm going to go take these prescriptions over to Giant Eagle. I said, and I'll be right back. And I was on my way back, and Shay called me screaming, crying, and said, he did it. And I said, he did what? She said, he shot himself. And she's crying and screaming, and she said, and I tried so hard, Mom, so Zach couldn't see it. She's tried to step in his way, and they're yelling out the window, Daddy, please don't. Son, I love you, Daddy. Please don't. I ran down through the yard because he was outside in the yard, and I saw him laying there, and I saw the gun there. So when I laid him back down, I didn't see anything on his face. I didn't see any blood anywhere. So I lifted up his shirt, and when I did, he had shot himself in the heart. And I just put my hand over his chest. And he was gone. Then I just started screaming. I was very angry at him for the longest time. My kids had to witness it. I felt very angry, and then I just kept reassured myself, that he just wasn't in his right mind. He would never in a million years ever would wanted his children to witness that. Shay was very angry. She was diagnosed with PTSD, and Zach was diagnosed with PTSD as well as several other things. He says, it's all my fault. He said, I could have saved him. I tried to tell him he couldn't have saved him.